Okay guys, I'm ready to communicate with my spirit guides. I'm getting something. I'm just kidding. Who does that? You know who does that? Shira. Shira does that. Bless her heart. Hello beautiful souls. My name is Jenny. Welcome back to another video on Starseed Academy. And today we're going to be talking about how to communicate with your guides. If you're hearing in the background right now, there's about 3 crows screaming back and forth to one another. Now I've asked them to be quiet and they're simply not listening. So I'm hoping that it can just add to the ambiance of this video since I was feeling a little goth with October coming up anyway. How to communicate with your guides has been a question that's been asked to me many times in my DMs through Instagram and Facebook. And I've been deriving a lot of my video topics from the things that are concerning you the most. So if you have an idea for a video, please either send me a DM on either of those platforms, or even easier, just leave it in the comment section down below, and I always read those comments and go through them. I'd be happy to cover any topics or questions that you have, as long as I feel like I can bring a higher perspective to the ideas. So before we get into this topic, I suppose we should talk about who your guides even are. We all have a team of guides, and it's comprised of angels, extraterrestrials from all of the different star nations, beings from different realms, such as the elemental realm. An example of this would be either a mermaid or a unicorn or perhaps even a fairy. Yes, these realms are absolutely... Are you hearing these crows? Oh my god. I think they have something to say. Shush! Simmer down! Okay. Are you making fun of me? Anyway, so your guides are always with you and they're experts on your path while you're here because they were part of creating your soul contracts and planning out your soul path when you did finally come to Earth. Because your guides helped you plan your lifetime before you came here. They are the perfect resource for you to turn to when you have any questions or concerns about the path that your life is taking. And I also turn to my guides just as friends and family. So it doesn't always have to be a professional or a serious relationship. You can be yourself. You can go to them when you're happy, sad, medium, anywhere in between, and just talk to them as if they were a true friend, because they are. I would say that becoming close with my guides has been the most enriching thing that I've done on my spiritual path. Because not only do I now not feel so alone, but being close with them and their high vibrational energy has helped me to raise my own energy. It's helped me to bring my psychic and clairvoyant, clairaudient, all the clairs, all these gifts back online for myself. They've also helped to trigger the Kundalini awakenings within myself, which is a huge part of your enlightenment journey. But it's also like having a piece of home here with you now while you're on Earth. I make sure to treat them with the utmost love and respect, as you would treat a best friend or family member. Treat them how you want to be treated. And so I make sure to always be thanking them. I truly feel so grateful for the team that I have. They are so loving and wise and funny. They all have their own personalities and they're an absolute joy to have in my life. I hope they feel the same way about me. Communicating with your guides is an individual experience. It's personal. It's going to look different for everyone because we all have different personalities, different ways of communicating, and different teams. And it's also going to evolve over time. I know that I've definitely felt that my ability to communicate with my guides has gotten easier and stronger over the years. So you have to allow these relationships to follow their natural course. So today, during this video, we're going to talk about the blocks that might be hindering you from communicating with your guides, the practical, logical steps that you take to actually communicate with your guides, and then I have 4 or 5 tips that I'm going to share with you if you're still experiencing those blocks. Tips to try if things just aren't flowing for you. Okay, so the blocks. The first and most common block that you're going to experience is fear blocks. Through overzealous religious teachings, scary movies, things that your parents might have told you when you were little, we can create all of these fears about communicating with the other side, as if it's something that's taboo or even evil to do. Nothing could be further from the truth. It is the most natural and loving thing that you can do, is to speak with your angels and guides. How is it different than prayer really in the end, or speaking to God? It's not. These are all divine, beautiful souls working with the light, working to help you become your best self, working to help you reach that place of your highest timeline. You have to truly know that inside to be able to open yourself up enough to these experiences. You have to feel safe, you have to feel comfortable, you have to want it so much. I was raised in a very strange cult-like religion that preached a lot of fear and a lot of satanic evil traps that they believed were out to get everyone. So for me, it was really difficult to get beyond that fear in the beginning. When I started talking with my first spirit guide to come through, Amy, I used to get all of this heat all over my body from fear. I would speak with her out loud because I found that easier in the beginning. And I would be facing these rushes of heat and fear, but I pushed through. You can feel the fear and do it anyway. If your intention is right and your intention is pure, and you truly believe that this is the next step for you on your spiritual journey, then you can have this. You absolutely can. The second block is a noisy mind. How are you going to hear anything in your mind if there's all of these thoughts racing around? And so if you're not practicing meditation and bringing yourself back to balance, then you probably do have a very noisy mind. That voice in your mind that's always narrating everything for absolutely no reason. We need to quiet our minds so that we can hear our angels and guides. The third block I like to call imposter syndrome. So when you're first starting to hear your guides, you won't really believe it at first. You're gonna think, no, I just made that up. Because our guides are speaking to us through telepathy. So oftentimes it is going to sound a little bit like your own voice inside your mind. And so it's easy to think that you're making these things up. I say the best way to discourage this imposter syndrome is to go ahead and make things up. Allow your imagination to open the doorway to communicating with your guides. That's what I did, and it worked amazingly. I would just have a one-way conversation in the beginning. I would speak to them and ask them questions and say what I thought they might think, answer myself. Before you know it, as soon as you start that flow of talking, there's going to be a certain point in there where it just clicks, and you realize that you are speaking with a guide, because they're speaking to you in words or terms that you normally wouldn't use, phrasing that you wouldn't use. They're also saying things, giving you replies and answers and advice and guidance that is unexpected, that's not coming from yourself. You just have to open the doorway and get the flow going. So don't worry about imposter syndrome at the beginning. Go ahead and have a conversation with yourself if you want to. It will get things flowing. You'll see. Okay, so now for the steps. The first step, of course, is to take the time. If you really want this to be a part of your life, then you need to take the time and remember to speak to your guides and go to them. Again, I like to bring my own self into these explanations and give you scenarios of what I went through, because I feel like me being relatable to you and saying something from a different perspective than just teaching it straight, it hits a different spot in your brain and it'll help things to click better. All of a sudden you'll just be like, oh, I get it now. So that's why I use myself in these relatable examples when I'm going through these kinds of videos, because I'm hoping that something's going to click for you and you're going to hear me say something just the right way. So back to the step of taking the time. I remember at the beginning, I would forget to ask for help. If you're not asking your guides the questions that you have, asking them for help, if you just keep trying to go it alone, then that's all you'll ever get. So take the time and remember to do it. The best times to communicate with your guides, the prime times, are going to be when you're in either a meditative state or right before you fall asleep. So when you get into bed but you haven't fallen asleep yet, strike up a conversation then. I would also encourage you to amplify your telepathic abilities. And so I do this with clear quartz, holding a clear quartz in your receiving hand, so your non-dominant hand, not the hand that you write with. Hold the clear quartz as you're trying to communicate. Now, I would say to try to find a clear quartz with a point on the end. This actually amplifies the energy even more and accelerates this process for you. So a pointed clear quartz in your hand as you're communicating with them. If you happen to be doing this during the before sleep time, you'll find that the clear quartz will also help you to have very lucid dreams, so dreams that you remember the next day. So that's also a cool tip. An advanced crystal to use for starseeds would be moldavite. So I've talked about moldavite before in my video 10 crystals for starseeds. It was the #1 crystal, in my opinion, for starseeds to use, and that is to communicate with your starseed guides. So your extraterrestrial guides from all of the different star nations. I will actually use the clear quartz point plus a moldavite in the same hand, my receiving hand, and I get really clear communication this way. The last step is to ask your guides to communicate with you. Simply request it. This has so much power. Ask them to come forward and speak to you. Let them know you're ready. You're ready to start exploring the relationships with your spirit guides. Tell them what you're feeling. Tell them what you're thinking and ask them to come through. I also like to ask them to be loud. I'll ask them to be as loud as they can, please, so that I can hear them as clearly as possible and so that I'm not straining. And finally, I always ask my guides for their name. To me, this just creates a personal experience. I like to have their name so that I can call upon them correctly, and it helps me to feel like we're really developing that relationship and bond together. Another quick personal experience that I had about asking for a name, and I'm going to use Amy again as the example because she was the guinea pig for me in so many ways, as she was my first guide to come through as an adult. So I had Amy come to me in a dream actually and tell me her name, but I felt like I needed confirmation. Confirmation also helps you to trust in yourself and your abilities. I would say confirmation is really important at the beginning of your spiritual journey and at the beginning of building the relationships with your spirit guides. But to be honest, confirmation is still just as important to me. I love getting confirmation, whether that be with synchronicities or with signs or experiences that the guides send to me. So when I asked Amy to confirm her name for me, I felt inspired to go and grab my pendulum. A pendulum is a crystal that hangs from a chain, and I happen to have it as a rose quartz point. So it's really just, again, working with crystals. I held the crystal pendulum with my hand steady over an alphabet that I had written up underneath. And she very clearly spelled out A-I-M-E-E. I'll never forget that day. I was thrilled. I was so full of joy. I remember thinking, like, we're really doing this. Like, we're really having these conversations. This is just wild. It was so, so amazing. Okay, so if it's still not flowing for you, after making sure that you don't have these blocks in place and trying these steps, then I've got some tips for you to try next. First of all, try talking out loud, because sometimes when you're trying to have the conversation in your mind, it can get a little bit quiet, confusing, muddled. Just try doing it straight out loud. Then there's no question at all of whether or not they heard you. The answers, of course, are still going to come in your mind. But if you have your end of the conversation out loud, then that erases any doubts that you can have of whether or not they're understanding what you mean or whether or not they're feeling your intention or hearing your words. And I don't know, something about just speaking out loud just seems to empower the whole communication. Next tip is that I would try journaling. If you've ever heard of automatic writing, then this is something that you can do with your guides as well. So you can write the question in your journal and then have your pen ready and poised for the answer. Don't think about what you're going to write. That's what automatic writing is. You just allow it to flow. Don't even think about it, just allow your hand and the words to flow. And you can get really clear messages that way as well. The next tip is to try a walk and talk. So go on a nature walk. Allow the beautiful energies and vibrations of nature to naturally empower this communication with your guide as well, the connection. In fact, it's one of my favorite things to do. I love to walk through the woods and talk to my guides. It's so magical. The fourth tip to try, if it's just not flowing, is to use cards. Use either oracle or tarot cards to get your messages from your spirit guides. Make sure that you're intuitively shuffling and choosing the cards with your intuition as well. If you're doing that, you can't choose the wrong card. Oftentimes, I'll even have a card jump right out of the deck as I'm shuffling them. One will literally jump out and land on the floor or on the table. I'm like, well, there's the answer. Actually, I've got a bonus tip for you that I just thought of. Try stretching your body. I know that sounds weird, but this is a part of my nightly routine. I'll have the meditation music going, and I'll start my nightly routine with a good stretch session. Something about the mind-body connection and also just releasing any extra energy from the day really makes things clear. I just realized that now. I always stretch right before I sit down to have my nightly chat and my nightly meditation with my guides. So I would try that too. Okay, so now I've got some things that you should try to notice. These aren't tips necessarily, but I want you to, as you're going through this process, notice the sensations in your body, in your mind, in your soul, in your spirit. Notice any kind of nudges that you're getting. Because in the beginning, if you're not able to hear them yet through telepathy, then they might actually just be giving you nudges to go and pick up this book and check a page out, or go grab this card deck and try it, or, nudges or synchronicities about, you need to buy this crystal, this is what's next for you. Always be looking for the communication and the signs from the universe in the world around you and in the sensations and the vibes that you're getting in your body in reaction to that. For example, if I'm talking with someone and something that they say gives me a little jolt in my stomach or like a flutter in my heart, I know that that was meant for me to hear. That's a great way for your guides to speak to you. They can speak to you through others, through music, through books. Start looking for the signs. They're all around you. Also notice the synchronicities. Again, a huge sign that your guides are trying to come through to you. A lot of people will see 1111 or 111 everywhere that they go, or they'll see 444, 222. Whatever it is for you, it's personal to you and it's between you and your guides. Or maybe you just keep hearing the same word over and over and over, and you have no idea why. Or you keep seeing the same animal. These are things that you look up, you research, you start to pay attention. After I learn one of my guides' names, for every single time that it's happened, I will always then hear that name over the next few days. Like so many times, I'll be reading and there it will be, or I'll hear it on the television, or I'll hear someone say it, and it's like just confirmation that yes, you got my name right, this is okay for you to call me this, I want to build this relationship with you too. Like them responding and sending me that confirmation that they're on board for this whole build a relationship thing. And the last point that I want to make is relax. Relax and be yourself. You don't have to be any kind of a way to speak to your angels, your guides, to speak to source, your higher self. No, not at all. You need to be yourself. You need to not be stiff and worried and full of fear. You need to relax, get yourself in the right state, and then be yourself. And if that's a goofy fool, then be a goofy fool. That's what they want from you. They also all have personalities, senses of humor. You're going to get to know all of the different intricate personalities on your team. The more you relax and be yourself, the more they will relax and be themselves, and things will just start to flow in such a natural way. I think you're going to be surprised just how much of a sense of humor that they actually have. But as you know from the past couple of videos about finding your starseed origins, and we've talked about angels, in all of these videos we keep saying the ultimate truth is that we are all just souls. So they are going to have personalities and emotions and their own things going on, their own missions, their own purposes, their own soul path. They are just like you. They are literally just souls helping another soul. My guides love making fun of me. Like earlier during this video, when the crows were just screaming in the background to the point where I couldn't even think, I really sensed a great amusement on their part. So try not to take things so seriously. Learn to laugh at yourself, relax, and everything that is meant to be for you is coming to you now. I love you all so much. Thank you for being a part of this community. And please help a starseed out by liking and sharing this video. And if you haven't subscribed, I'm going to ask you to do that as well. You can also connect with me on Instagram and Facebook. Of course, the links are below. feel free to message me or dive into all the posts and comments as well. I'm truly so grateful for you all, but I really want you to remember to listen to your heart and the quiet voice within, because you are so much more than the body you are in. Have a great day. Bye.